One moment, I was standing in my cousin's engagement party holding a gift, the next. I was lying on the floor with blood in my mouth and my father's hand still in my hair. The crystal chandelier above spun in lazy circles as shocked gasps echoed through the ballroom. My mother's laughter cut through the silence like broken glass. They thought I'd stay silent about what they'd done to me all these years. They thought wrong. That night, with my split lip still throbbing, I made the call that would destroy everything they'd built on my back. My name is Lydia Monroe, and at 34 years old, I thought I'd finally escaped my family's toxic grasp. Standing in the marble foyer of the Ritz-Carlton Denver that Saturday evening, I adjusted the silver gift box in my hands and wondered why I'd even come. My mother's call 3 days earlier had been typical equal parts guilt trip and veiled threat. Mason's engagement party is this weekend. You will be there. Lydia. We're family. After all. Family. The word tasted bitter as I entered the ballroom. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across the crowd of Denver's elite, all here to celebrate my golden boy cousin's engagement to some pharmaceutical heiress. I recognized faces from my childhood people who'd watched my father's temper flare at country club dinners, who'd seen my mother's cruel smiles when she'd publicly humiliate me for not being more like Mason. I'd dressed carefully for this, a black Diane von Furstenberg wrap dress that screamed success, designer heels that added 3 inches to my 5'7" frame. After years of being told I wasn't good enough, pretty enough, smart enough, I'd built myself into someone they couldn't dismiss. Marketing director at Bright Peak Strategies wasn't a title they could sneer at, even if they tried. Mason spotted me first. At 29, he still had that prep school swagger, that entitled tilt to his chin that money and favoritism had carved into his features. His tuxedo probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Well, look who actually showed up, he said, champagne flute dangling from his fingers. Thought you'd be too busy with your little job to grace us with your presence. Congratulations on your engagement, Mason, I said, keeping my voice level. I held out the gift, a crystal decanter set I'd overpaid for just to avoid their criticism. He didn't take it. Instead, his eyes narrowed, that familiar predatory gleam surfacing. You know, Lydia, some of us were just talking about how you've always been jealous of me. Even as kids, you couldn't stand that everyone loved me more. The crowd around us had grown quiet, sensing blood in the water. These people fed on drama like sharks. I'm not doing this with you tonight, I said, setting the gift on a nearby table. I came because Mom asked. Because Mom guilted you into it. You mean? Mason stepped closer, his voice rising. Just like she has to guilt you into everything. Family dinners, holidays, being a decent daughter. That's enough. My father's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Robert Monroe stood behind Mason, his face already flushed with bourbon and barely contained rage. At 62, he still cut an imposing figure 6'3", broad shoulders, hands that had built his construction empire and destroyed plenty along the way. Dad, You were just about to apologize to your cousin for making a scene at his engagement party, he said, his voice low and dangerous. I didn't make a scene. I congratulated him and... The slap came fast, but the closed fist that followed was faster. My father's knuckles connected with my cheekbone with a crack that silenced the entire ballroom. Pain exploded across my face as I stumbled backward, my heel catching on my dress hem. I went down hard, the marble floor cold against my palms. But he wasn't done. Before I could process what was happening, his hand was in my hair, yanking me up by the roots. I felt strands tear free as he dragged me toward the exit, my heels scraping uselessly against the floor. You ungrateful little bitch, he snarled, loud enough for everyone to hear. After everything we've done for you. My mouth filled with the copper taste of blood. Through the haze of pain and humiliation, I could see the faces of the guests, some shocked, some smugly satisfied, but not one moving to help. Near the champagne fountain, my mother stood in her Carolina Herrera gown, and she was laughing. Actually laughing. Maybe this will finally teach her some respect, Elaine Monroe called out, raising her glass as if toasting my humiliation. Mason's voice followed us to the door. Should have stayed away, cousin. You never did know your place. The cool Denver night air hit my face as my father shoved me out onto the sidewalk. I landed on my knees, my dress tearing, blood from my split lip spattering the concrete. Don't you dare show your face around this family again, he said, straightening his tuxedo jacket. You're nothing. You've always been nothing. The door closed with a definitive click, leaving me alone on the sidewalk as the valet attendants pretended not to see. I touched my face gingerly. My cheek was already swelling, and I could feel the sticky warmth of blood on my chin. My hands shook as I pulled myself to my feet, my beautiful dress ruined, my dignity shattered across that marble floor. But as I limped toward my car, something shifted inside me. The pain transformed into something harder, sharper. They thought this was over. They thought I'd crawl away and disappear like I always had before. They had no idea what they'd just unleashed. The drive back to my Capitol Hill apartment was a blur of tears and trembling hands. Every red light gave me a chance to check the rearview mirror to see the damage blooming across my face. By the time I reached my building, my left eye was swelling shut, and the blood from my lip had dried in rusty streaks down my chin. Inside my apartment, I went straight to the bathroom mirror. The woman staring back at me looked like a victim from a crime scene photo. Purple bruises were already spreading across my cheekbone. My lip was split in 2 places, and angry red marks showed where his fingers had gripped my hair. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and started documenting photos from every angle, close-ups of each injury, even a video where I described what had just happened while the evidence was fresh on my face. As I cleaned the blood away, memories crashed over me like waves. I was 8 years old again, cowering in my bedroom closet as my father raged downstairs, smashing plates because I'd gotten a B+ on my math test while Golden Boy Mason had gotten an A. I was 12, standing in the kitchen as my mother told her book club friends that she didn't know where she'd gone wrong with me, that Mason was the child she'd always wanted. I was 16, discovering that the college fund my grandmother had left specifically for me had somehow been reallocated to cover Mason's prep school tuition. 26 years of this. 26 years of being the family scapegoat, the disappointment, the one who could never measure up to Mason's manufactured perfection. They'd stolen my childhood, my self-worth, my inheritance, and now they'd made the mistake of doing it in front of 200 witnesses. I poured myself a glass of wine, wincing as it stung my split lip, and scrolled through my contacts. Most of the numbers belonged to work colleagues or casual acquaintances my family had done an excellent job of isolating me over the years, but there was one name that made me pause. Samantha Lee. Sam and I had been inseparable at Northwestern, back when I'd briefly escaped Denver for college. She'd gone on to become a criminal defense attorney in Chicago, making a name for herself taking down corrupt businessmen and abusive spouses. We'd lost touch after graduation, but she'd reached out last year when she'd seen my LinkedIn promotion announcement. It was past 11:30 p.m., but I knew Sam. She'd always been a night owl. She answered on the second ring. "Lydia, holy shit, is that really you?" "Sam," my voice cracked. "I need help." "What's wrong? You sound—" My father punched me in the face tonight, at a family party, in front of everyone. The words tumbled out in a rush. He dragged me out by my hair. My mother laughed. "Sam, I have photos. I have witnesses. I have—" "Stop. Breathe." Sam's voice shifted into lawyer mode, calm and focused. "Are you safe right now?" "Yes, I'm at my apartment." Good. First things first, you did the right thing documenting everything. Email me those photos right now. Every single one. Do you need medical attention? No, I don't think so. It's just bruising and the split lip. Okay, listen to me very carefully. This is assault and battery. With that many witnesses, we can absolutely press charges. But Lydia, I need you to be prepared your family will fight back. They'll have expensive lawyers. They'll try to discredit you. I laughed bitterly. They've been discrediting me my whole life. Sam, there's more. I think they've been stealing from me. My grandmother left me money, and somehow it all ended up funding Mason's life. Financial fraud on top of assault, Jesus. Lydia. Okay. I'm looking at flights right now. I can be in Denver by tomorrow afternoon. In the meantime, I need you to write down everything you remember about tonight. Every word, every witness you recognized, every detail. Can you do that? Yes. And Lydia, I'm so sorry this happened to you, but we're going to make them pay. I promise you that. After we hung up, I sat at my laptop and began typing. The words flowed like poison being drawn from a wound years of abuse, manipulation, and theft laid bare in black and white. As I wrote, I thought about all the times I'd stayed quiet, all the family dinners where I'd bitten my tongue, all the moments I'd chosen peace over justice. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Your behavior tonight was absolutely disgraceful. Your father and I are considering our options regarding your trust fund access. Perhaps some time away from the family will help you remember your place. I stared at the message, feeling that familiar twist of pain and rage. They were still trying to control me, still wielding money like a weapon, but this time, they'd gone too far. This time, there were witnesses. This time, I had proof. I opened my laptop's camera and recorded one more video, my battered face illuminated by the screen's glow. My name is Lydia Monroe, I said to the camera. It's 12:47 a.m. on Sunday, and approximately 2 hours ago, my father, Robert Monroe, assaulted me at the Ritz-Carlton Denver in front of 200 witnesses. This is not the first time he's been violent with me. It's just the first time he's done it in public. I saved the video and added it to the growing folder of evidence. They thought tonight was their victory. They thought they'd finally broken me. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Sunday morning arrived with my face looking like a Jackson Pollock painting purple, blue, and sickly yellow bruises mapping out my father's violence. Sam had texted that she'd landed and would meet me at 2 p.m., but I had another meeting first. Tom Barrett lived 3 doors down in my building. We'd developed an odd friendship over the years. Me, the corporate marketing director, and him, the grizzled ex-cop turned private investigator. He'd helped me install security cameras after a break-in last year, and we sometimes shared bourbon on his balcony while he told war stories from his days investigating financial crimes for the Denver PD. I knocked on his door at 9 a.m., knowing he'd be awake. Tom was always awake. He opened the door, took one look at my face, and his expression darkened. Jesus Christ, Lydia, who did this to you? My father, last night, in front of 200 people at the Ritz-Carlton. Tom stepped aside to let me in. His apartment was exactly what you'd expect from an ex-cop, sparse, functional, but with an entire wall dedicated to monitors and investigation equipment. Sit, he commanded, already reaching for his camera. We need to document this in better light. These bruises are evidence. As he photographed my injuries with professional detachment, I told him everything. Not just about last night, but about the years of financial manipulation I'd suspected but never proven. Tom listened, his face growing stonier with each detail. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Your grandmother left you money. A trust fund. She died when I was 15. I was supposed to get access when I turned 25. But when I tried, my parents said there had been complications with the estate. They gave me some documents to sign, said it was just bureaucratic stuff. You signed documents you didn't read. I felt my cheeks burn. I was young. I trusted them. They're my parents. They were your parents, Tom corrected. Now they're suspects. How much was the trust worth? I don't know exactly. Grandma was comfortable. She owned commercial real estate. Tom was already at his computer, fingers flying over the keyboard. What was her full name? Eleanor Christine Monroe. She died in 2006. And Mason's full name? Mason James Fitzgerald. He's my aunt's son, but my parents practically raised him after she died. For the next hour, Tom worked his magic. I watched as he navigated databases I didn't know existed, pulled up financial records, traced property transfers. His expression grew darker with each discovery. Lydia, he said finally, turning his monitor toward me. Your grandmother left you 3 commercial properties in downtown Denver. Combined value today about $12 million. My coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering on his hardwood floor. The properties were transferred to a holding company in 2015. He continued, ignoring the mess. Want to guess who owns that holding company? I couldn't speak. Robert Monroe and Mason Fitzgerald. 50-50 split. And look here. He pulled up another screen. Rental income from those properties has been funding Mason's lifestyle for years. His company, his investments, even that gaudy engagement party last night. They stole $12 million from me. More than that. This is just what I can find in public records. And Lydia, there's something else. He showed me an email thread he'd somehow accessed. Your father wrote to his lawyer 3 weeks ago. Subject line ensuring M's future. He says, and I quote, "Make sure Mason has everything he needs. Lydia won't be a problem much longer." Won't be a problem. My voice sounded hollow. What does that mean? Could mean anything. Could mean nothing. But combined with last night's assault. Tom leaned back in his chair. They're escalating. The question is why now? I thought about it. I got promoted 6 months ago. Started making real money. Maybe they thought I'd start asking questions about the trust. Or maybe Mason's spending finally caught up with them, and they need to ensure you never claim what's yours. Tom printed out everything he'd found, organizing it into a neat folder. You need a lawyer, a good one. My friend Sam is flying in from Chicago. She's a criminal attorney. Good. She'll need all of this. And Lydia. There's going to be more. Financial fraud at this level always has layers. They've been at this for almost a decade. They've gotten comfortable. Sloppy. That's when mistakes happen. I stood to leave, clutching the folder like a lifeline. Tom, I can't thank you enough. Don't thank me yet. This is just the beginning. They stole $12 million from you. Lydia, that's not just family drama that's federal crime territory, wire fraud, conspiracy, tax evasion. Your father punching you might have been the best thing that could have happened. How can you say that? Because now you have witnesses. Now you have public attention. Now they can't make you disappear quietly. He handed me a business card. That's my old partner at the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. When your lawyer's ready, have her call him. I left Tom's apartment with my head spinning. $12 million. They'd stolen my entire future and used it to fund Mason's golden boy lifestyle while treating me like garbage for not being successful enough. The bruises on my face throbbed with each heartbeat, but for the first time in my life, the pain felt like power. They'd drawn blood, thinking it would scare me into submission. Instead, they'd given me everything I needed to destroy them. The call came Monday morning while I was reviewing Tom's findings with Sam at my dining table. My phone screen lit up with Mom, and I almost didn't answer. But Sam nodded, mouthing, "Record it," as she pulled out her own phone. Lydia. My mother's voice was ice-cold efficiency. Your father and I have discussed Saturday's incident. We're willing to move past your behavior if you're ready to be reasonable. My behavior. I kept my voice steady. He assaulted me. You provoked him. You always do. But that's not why I'm calling. We need to meet. Today. 2 o'clock at your father's office. Why would I do that? Because despite your ungrateful attitude, we're still family. We have a proposal that will benefit everyone. Don't be stupid. Lydia, you know how this works. After she hung up, Sam looked at me with raised eyebrows. They're scared. This meeting, it's damage control. Should I go? Absolutely, but not alone and not unprepared. She pulled out a small device from her bag. Wire. It's legal in Colorado as long as one party knows they're being recorded. That's you. Whatever they say in that room. We'll have it. At 1:45 p.m., I stood outside Monroe Construction's headquarters, a gleaming tower my father had built with my stolen inheritance. Sam waited in the lobby cafe, ready to call 911 if needed. The wire taped to my ribs felt like armor. My father's corner office hadn't changed, all leather and mahogany, designed to intimidate. He sat behind his massive desk. My mother perched on the sofa, and Mason lounged in a chair like he owned the place, which, I realized with bitter irony, he partially did. Sit, my father commanded, not looking up from the papers in front of him. I remained standing. I'll hear what you have to say, but I'm not staying long. Mason smirked. Still playing the victim? I see. That bruise is a nice touch. Very dramatic. Enough. My mother opened her designer bag and pulled out a document. We've had our lawyers draft this. It's a non-disclosure agreement with a financial settlement. Sign it, and this all goes away. I took the papers, scanning them quickly. $50,000 for my silence. You're offering me $50,000 of my own money. It's a generous offer, my father said, finally looking at me. His eyes were cold, calculating. Considering your behavior. My behavior? You mean getting punched in the face? You've always been dramatic. My mother sighed. Just like your grandmother. She coddled you, filled your head with nonsense about being special. Look where it's gotten you. Speaking of Grandma, I said carefully, what happened to the trust she left me? The room went silent. Mason shifted in his chair, and I caught the quick glance he shot my father. There was no trust, my father said flatly. Your grandmother's estate was complicated, debts, bad investments. We protected you from the ugly truth. Really, because I have documents that say otherwise. 3 commercial properties in downtown Denver. Ring any bells? My mother's face went pale. Where did you? It doesn't matter where I got the information. What matters is that you stole $12 million from me. Wow, we didn't steal anything, Mason burst out. That money was tied up in family assets. Uncle Robert managed it appropriately. By putting it all in your name. My father stood slowly, his face darkening. Careful, Lydia. You're making accusations you can't prove. Can't I? I pulled out my phone, showing them a photo of one of Tom's documents. Funny how Grandma's properties ended up funding Mason's engagement party, the same party where you assaulted me. That's when I noticed a small recording device sitting on the bookshelf, its red light blinking. They were recording this too. Here's the thing, I said, making sure to speak clearly for both recordings. I'm not signing anything. I'm not taking your bribe. What I am doing is giving you one chance to make this right. Transfer my properties back to me. Every penny of rental income for the last decade. Do it voluntarily, and maybe we can handle this quietly. Mason laughed. Or what, you'll run crying to the police who's going to believe you over us? We own half this city. Maybe, but you don't own the FBI, or the IRS, or the 200 witnesses who saw Dad hit me. I moved toward the door. You have 48 hours. After that, I file charges, all of them. You ungrateful bitch. My mother spat. We gave you everything, fed you, clothed you, sent you to college. With my own money, you stole from a 15-year-old girl and used it to build your Golden Boys empire. And when I started succeeding on my own, you couldn't stand it. You had to put me back in my place. My father moved toward me, and I saw his hands clench into fists. You walk out that door. You're no longer my daughter. I haven't been your daughter for a long time. I've been your victim, your bank account, your punching bag. I opened the door, then turned back. 48 hours? Oh, and Dad, next time you want to threaten someone, maybe don't do it in front of your own recording device. I pointed at the bookshelf, watched their faces change as they realized their mistake, and walked out. In the elevator, my hands shook so badly I could barely press the lobby button, but I'd done it. I'd faced them down in their own territory and hadn't backed down. Sam was waiting in the lobby, her face tight with concern. "How did it go?" I handed her my phone, where I'd been recording the whole thing as backup. They offered me $50,000 to go away. They admitted to managing my trust, and my father almost hit me again, on camera. "This is perfect," Sam breathed. "Lydia, this is conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted witness tampering, intimidation. We've got them." As we walked to her rental car, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You have no idea what you've started. Back off now, or lose everything." I showed Sam the message. She smiled grimly and pulled out her phone. "What are you doing?" "Calling my contact at the FBI, threatening a witness in an active investigation." She shook her head. "Your family just keeps digging that hole deeper. Tuesday night found us at a 24-hour diner in Capitol Hill, the kind of place where nobody asked questions and the coffee was strong enough to wake the dead. Sam had suggested it somewhere public but discreet, where 3 people planning a legal takedown wouldn't draw attention. Tom arrived carrying a leather messenger bag that looked like it had seen better decades. He slid into the booth across from us, signaling the waitress for coffee before speaking. "I've been digging deeper," he said without preamble. "Your family's been busy since yesterday. They've hired Morrison and Associates." Sam whistled low. "The firm that got Senator Blake off on those corruption charges." "The very same, which tells me they're taking your threat seriously." Tom pulled out a manila folder. "But here's where it gets interesting. Remember those threatening texts you got? I traced the number. And belongs to a burner phone purchased at a convenience store near Mason's office. Paid cash, but they have security cameras. Want to guess who's on the footage?" He slid a grainy photo across the table. Mason's face was clearly visible at the register. "Idiot," Sam muttered. "That's witness intimidation in black and white." "It gets better," Tom continued. "I found the original trust documents. Your grandmother didn't just leave you property. She specifically stated that the assets were to remain in your name only, with no family management permitted. She even included a clause about financial abuse." I stared at the photocopied document, my grandmother's signature bold at the bottom. She knew what they might try to do. "Eleanor Monroe was a smart woman. She'd seen how they treated you." Tom pulled out another document. "This is from a private investigator she hired in 2005. She was documenting your parents' behavior toward you even then." My throat felt tight, even from beyond the grave. My grandmother had tried to protect me. Sam was already taking notes. "This is huge. It shows premeditation, violation of fiduciary duty, and deliberate fraud. Tom, can you testify to how you obtained these documents?" Every single piece was gathered legally, public records, court documents, and that PI, he's still alive and willing to talk. "Good. Now, let's discuss strategy." Sam pulled out her laptop. "We file criminal charges for assault first. That's straightforward with witnesses. Simultaneously, we file a civil suit for the fraud. The criminal case will put pressure on them while we build the financial case." "What about the media?" I asked. Sam and Tom exchanged glances. "That's your call," Sam said carefully. "Going public means losing control of the narrative, but it also means they can't make you disappear quietly." "I know someone," I said, thinking of Carla Jensen. She'd been a junior reporter when I'd helped her with insider information on a corporate scandal 2 years ago. Now she was an investigative journalist at the Denver Post. Someone who owes me a favor. "Trustworthy." "She broke the Riverside chemical cover-up. She's solid." Tom leaned back, studying me. "You sure you want to go nuclear once this goes public? There's no taking it back." I thought about Saturday night, the crack of my father's fist, my mother's laughter, Mason's sneer. 26 years of being their victim, their scapegoat, their personal ATM. They already went nuclear when they stole my inheritance and used it to fund their lifestyle while treating me like trash. I'm just returning the favor. Sam nodded. All right. Here's what we do. Tomorrow morning, we file the assault charges. That starts the clock. Tom, can you package everything you've found into a comprehensive report? Already working on it. I'll have it ready by 9 Good. I'll draft the civil complaint tonight. Lydia, reach out to your journalist contact, but don't give her anything yet. Just feel her out. See if she's interested. What about my family? They gave me 48 hours. Let them think they have control. The assault charges will be filed before their deadline expires. They'll wake up Thursday to find out they're under criminal investigation. The waitress refilled our coffees, and we sat in silence for a moment, the weight of what we were about to do settling over us. There's one more thing, Tom said quietly. Your father's company has government contracts, federal ones. If he's convicted of assault or fraud, he loses those contracts. We're talking about hundreds of millions in revenue. Good, I said, surprising myself with the venom in my voice. Let them lose everything, the way they made me lose everything. Sam reached over and squeezed my hand. They made one fatal mistake. Lydia, they did it in public. They got arrogant, thought their money and connections would protect them forever. But assault, fraud, witness intimidation, that's a federal case waiting to happen. We spent another hour going over details, contingencies, what-ifs. By the time we left at the diner, it was past 2 a.m., but I felt more awake than I had in years. Walking to our cars, Tom pulled me aside. You know they're going to fight dirty. When cornered, people like your father don't go down easy. What are you saying? I'm saying be careful. Vary your routines. Make sure your apartment's secure. And Lydia, that recording device in your father's office wasn't a mistake. They wanted you to see it. Wanted you to know they were recording too. Why? Because they're planning something. In my experience, when criminals telegraph their moves, it's because they think they've already won. I thought about that as I drove home, checking my mirrors more than necessary. My family had built an empire on my stolen inheritance. Tomorrow, I'd start tearing it down brick by brick. They thought they'd already won. They had no idea what kind of war they'd started. Wednesday afternoon, I sat across from Carla Jensen at a quiet coffee shop in Lodo. She'd arrived looking polished and professional, her press credentials visible on her blazer, but her eyes widened when she saw my face. Jesus, Lydia, when you said you had a story, I didn't expect. She gestured at my bruises, now a spectacular array of purple and green. This is the story, Carla, or at least, how it starts. I slid a USB drive across the table. Everything's on there, videos, photos, financial documents, but I need to know you'll handle this right. She pocketed the drive without looking at it. Tell me what happened. For the next hour, I laid it all out. The assault at the Ritz-Carlton, the stolen inheritance, the years of abuse, Tom's discoveries, the threatening messages. Carla took notes in shorthand, her expression growing darker with each revelation. $12 million, she repeated when I finished. Your father and cousin stole $12 million and used it to build their empire while psychologically and physically abusing you. That's the summary, yes. And you have witnesses to the assault. 200 of Denver's elite watched my father punch me in the face and drag me out by my hair. My mother laughed. Not one person helped. Carla's pen stilled. I know some of those people. I've interviewed them for society pieces. Which is why this story matters. It's not just about my family. It's about how people with money and power think they're untouchable, how they can commit violence in public and assume their wealth will protect them. When are you filing charges? Tomorrow morning. Sam, my lawyer, says the assault charges go first, then the civil suit for fraud. But Carla, once those charges are filed, my family will go into damage control mode. They've already hired Morrison and Associates. Of course they have. She tapped her pen against her notepad. Here's what I propose. I write the story tonight, focusing on the assault, straightforward reporting the facts, the witnesses, your injuries. We run it online tomorrow afternoon. after the charges are filed. What about the financial crimes? That's phase 2. Once the assault story breaks, I'll have more leverage to investigate the fraud. Your father won't be able to hide behind his reputation when there's a video of him attacking his daughter at a society event. There's video? Carla smiled for the first time. I have sources too. Lydia. 3 different people recorded it on their phones. High-quality footage. Your father's face is crystal clear when he punches you. My heart raced. Video evidence would change everything. I should warn you, Carla continued. Once this goes live, your life will change. Media attention, social media, people picking sides. Are you prepared for that? I've been invisible my whole life. Carla. Invisible when they hurt me. Invisible when they stole from me. Invisible when I needed help. I'm ready to be seen. She nodded and stood. I'll need official statements from you and your lawyer. Can you both be available tonight? Yes. Good. And Lydia, that favor you did for me with Riverside Chemical, consider us more than even. This story. This is why I became a journalist. After she left, I called Sam to update her. Then I sat in my car for a long moment, staring at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Tomorrow. Everything would change. Tomorrow. The world would know what kind of people the Monroe family really were. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Last chance. Lydia, drop this now or face the consequences. I screenshotted it and forwarded it to Sam and Tom. Then I typed back, see you in court? That evening, Sam and I met Carla at her office at the Denver Post. The newsroom was mostly empty, but I could feel the energy of the place stories being born, truth being excavated. Let's go through this systematically, Carla said, her recorder running. Start with Saturday night. I told the story again, this time for the official record. Sam interjected with legal context, explaining the charges we'd be filing. Carla asked pointed questions, clarifying details, establishing timelines. Now, about the financial fraud, Carla said, I can't include unproven allegations in tomorrow's story, but I can mention that you're pursuing civil action related to your inheritance. Is that acceptable? Yes, Sam answered. We'll have documentation filed publicly within the week. You can report on those once they're official court records. Perfect. One last thing, Lydia. Do you have a statement for your family? I thought carefully. Yes, I'd say this. You taught me that family means nothing if there's no love behind it. You taught me that power comes from taking what you want, regardless of who you hurt. Thank you for the lesson. Class is now in session. Carla smiled. That's going to be one hell of a pull quote. As we left the building, Sam's phone rang. She answered, listened, then grabbed my arm. That was Tom. He just intercepted something. Your family hired a PR firm. They're planning to release their own version of events tomorrow morning, before we file charges. They're going to claim you attacked Mason, that your father was defending him, that you've been unstable and violent for years. What do we do? Sam's smile was sharp. We file tonight, emergency filing. I know a judge who'll be very interested in defendants trying to manipulate the narrative before charges are even filed. Can we do that? Watch me. Carla, how fast can you get your story online? Give me 2 hours. And just like that, our careful timeline accelerated. My family thought they could control this story the way they'd controlled me. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Denver Post story went live at 11:47 p.m., Wednesday night. By Thursday morning, it had been shared over 10,000 times. The headline was brutal in its simplicity. Construction mogul Robert Monroe, arrested for assaulting daughter at society event. Video evidence confirms attack. I woke to my phone exploding with notifications. Sam had warned me to turn off my social media, but morbid curiosity won. The video was everywhere. Someone had edited together 3 different angles of my father's assault, showing clearly how he'd sucker punched me without provocation. The sound of impact, the gasps from the crowd, my mother's laughter, it was all there in high definition. But my family had struck back, just as predicted. Their PR firm had released a statement painting me as a mentally unstable woman with a history of violence and false accusations. They'd even produced a heavily edited video showing me setting down Mason's gift aggressively and speaking to him before the assault, conveniently cutting out his provocations and jumping straight to my father, defending him. "Don't read the comments," Sam warned when she called at 7 a.m. "Half of them are probably paid bots anyway." Too late. I was already scrolling through the vitriolic responses on their version. They're calling me a gold digger, an ungrateful daughter. Someone said I probably deserved worse. "Lydia, stop. This is what they want. They're trying to muddy the waters before the arraignment this afternoon." "It's working. Look at this. Monroe Construction's PR team is claiming I've been extorting money from the family for years." "Why, which is particularly ironic given what they stole from you. Speaking of which, I heard papers rustling. Tom sent over something interesting this morning. Your father's company just transferred $5 million to an offshore account in the Caymans. He's hiding assets." "Looks like it. But here's the beautiful part: he did it after being served with criminal charges. That's consciousness of guilt, possible obstruction, and definitely something the FBI will want to know about." My doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a man in a suit holding an envelope. "Process server," he announced when I opened the door. "Lydia Monroe." I accepted the envelope, already knowing what it contained. My family was suing me for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and this was creative theft of proprietary business information. "They're claiming I stole business information," I asked Sam after sending her photos of the documents. "It's an intimidation tactic. They're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. But this is good, actually." "How is being sued by my family good?" "Because now I can depose them, under oath, with court reporters recording every word." The arraignment was scheduled for 2 p.m. at the Denver District Court. I arrived to find a circus of media, protesters, and curious onlookers. Someone had organized a small rally supporting victims of domestic violence. Another group held signs supporting my father, calling him a pillar of the community being destroyed by his vindictive daughter. Inside the courthouse, my family sat on one side of the gallery like a funeral party, my father in his best suit, my mother clutching her pearls, Mason looking sullen. Their lawyers filled an entire row. Morrison and Associates had brought their A-team. Judge Patricia Hawkins presided. Sam had said she was fair but tough, with no patience for grandstanding. "Mr. Monroe," Judge Hawkins began after the charges were read, "you're charged with assault in the second degree. How do you plead?" "Not guilty, Your Honor," his lead attorney responded. "My client was defending his nephew from an unprovoked attack." "I've seen the video evidence, counselor, multiple angles. Your client strikes first." "There was verbal provocation, Your Honor. My client felt threatened." The judge's expression didn't change. "By his unarmed daughter at a social event. Noted. Bail is set at $50,000. The defendant will surrender his passport and have no contact with the victim." "Your Honor," the attorney protested, "this is a family matter that's been blown out of proportion. Ms. Monroe lives in the same city as her parents. A no-contact order would be unduly burdensome. Then Mr. Monroe should have thought of that before assaulting his daughter in public. The order stands." As they processed my father, I caught his eye. The rage there was volcanic, barely contained. My mother whispered furiously to their attorneys while Mason typed on his phone, probably coordinating their next PR attack. Outside the courthouse, Carla was waiting with her cameraman. "Lydia, any comment on the arraignment?" I'd prepared for this. "I'm grateful the justice system is working. No one should be above the law, regardless of their wealth or connections. Violence is never acceptable, especially from those who claim to love you. Your family claims you're mentally unstable and have a history of making false accusations. They also claim they never stole my $12 million inheritance. We'll see what the evidence shows." That got their attention. The reporters started shouting questions about the inheritance, the fraud allegations, the offshore accounts. I walked away without answering. Sam guiding me through the crowd. But my family wasn't done. That evening, as Sam and I prepared for the civil filing, her phone rang. She listened, her face going pale. "What is it?" I asked when she hung up. "That was Tom. Your family just released another video from inside your father's office on Monday." My blood ran cold. The recording device. But we'd been careful, hadn't we? Sam pulled up the video on her laptop. It was edited, of course, but cleverly. They'd captured me showing the financial documents on my phone, making it look like I was threatening them with fabricated evidence. They'd cut out all their admissions, keeping only my threats to destroy them. "This is bad," Sam admitted. "They're building a narrative that you're extorting them. But we have the full recording. We can prove they edited it." "Yes, but public opinion doesn't wait for proof. They're winning the media war." I stared at the video, watching my own words being twisted against me. They'd had days to prepare this counterattack, and I'd walked right into it. "What do we do?" Sam's jaw set with determination. "We file the civil suit tomorrow as planned, and we add a charge witness tampering and evidence manipulation. They just gave us proof they're actively trying to obstruct justice." "Will that be enough?" "Lydia, they're scared. This scorched earth response. The offshore transfers the edited videos. Innocent people don't act like this. They're making mistakes because they're panicking." I hoped she was right, because watching my family's machinery grind into action, I realized something. I'd wounded them, but I hadn't killed them yet. And wounded animals were the most dangerous kind. The civil trial began 6 weeks later in a packed courtroom. Those 6 weeks had been hell-death threats, reporters camping outside my apartment, and my family's PR machine working overtime to destroy my reputation. But Sam had been right about one thing: their panic had made them sloppy. Tom's testimony was devastating. He walked the court through every financial document, every forged signature, every offshore transfer, but the real bombshell came when he produced something new. "Your Honor," Tom said, holding up a USB drive. "This contains security footage from Monroe Construction's headquarters from January 15th, 2015, the day the trust properties were transferred." The video showed my father and Mason in the conference room, documents spread before them. The audio was grainy but clear enough. "She'll never know," Mason's voice said. "Stupid girl barely knows what she owns." "Just sign here," my father replied. "Power of attorney we tricked her into giving us. By the time she figures it out, if she ever does, the statute of limitations will have run out." They'd laughed. Actually laughed about stealing from me? Mason went white in the defendant's chair. My father's attorney objected frantically. But the damage was done. Tom explained how he'd obtained the footage Monroe Construction's own security system, subpoenaed legally, showing them committing fraud in their own building. Then came Samantha's masterstroke. She called Eleanor Monroe's private investigator to the stand. The elderly man testified about my grandmother's concerns, her documentation of my parents' financial exploitation and emotional abuse of me throughout my childhood. He produced reports, photos, even recordings my grandmother had made. "She wanted to protect Lydia," he said. "She knew what that family was capable of." The criminal assault trial had concluded the week before my father received 2 years probation and anger management. A slap on the wrist. But this civil trial was different. This was about money, and in their world, money was everything. On the final day, I took the stand. For 3 hours, I told my story. Every beating, every humiliation, every stolen dollar. I showed them the scars, not just the physical ones from that night at the Ritz, but the emotional ones from 26 years of abuse. "They didn't just steal my money," I said, looking directly at my family. "They stole my childhood, my self-worth, my trust. They used my inheritance to build an empire while telling me I was worthless. They made me believe I deserved nothing while they took everything." My mother couldn't meet my eyes. Mason stared at the table. Only my father looked at me, his face twisted with the same rage I'd seen my whole life. The verdict came 2 days later. The judge found in my favor on all counts: fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, conversion, conspiracy. The damages $18 million, my original inheritance plus interest and punitive damages. But the real victory came from what followed. The FBI, alerted by the offshore transfers and evidence of systemic fraud, opened their own investigation. Monroe Construction lost its federal contracts. Within a month, they'd filed for bankruptcy. The last time I saw my family was outside the courthouse after the verdict. They stood by their car, diminished somehow, like all their power had been stripped away with their money. "I hope you're happy," my mother said. "You've destroyed us." "No," I replied. "You destroyed yourselves. I just held up a mirror." Mason started toward me, but my father grabbed his arm. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in Robert Monroe's eyes. Fear of me. Fear of consequences. Fear of the truth. They drove away, and I never saw them again. Standing on the courthouse steps, Carla asked me one last question for her follow-up story. "What would you say to other abuse victims watching this?" I thought about all the emails I'd received, the people who'd shared their own stories of family betrayal and violence. I'd say that your truth matters, that staying silent protects them, not you, that sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to stand up and fight back, no matter how powerful they think they are. "Any regrets?" I touched my cheek where the bruise had long since faded. "Just one. I wish I'd done it sooner." The money came through 8 weeks later. I donated a third to domestic violence shelters, kept a third for my future, and used the rest to start a foundation helping abuse victims pursue justice against wealthy perpetrators. My family had taught me that power came from taking what you want. They were wrong. Real power comes from truth, from standing up, from refusing to be silenced. They thought that night at the Ritz would break me. Instead, it set me free. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Your support means everything, and I can't wait to hear what you think.